All right, now we're being recorded, we're okay? Super, all right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the March 26th regular meeting of the Personnel Commission. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Chairperson Goldstein,
Present?
Vice Chairperson Alpert,
Present.
Commissioner Roeder,
Here.
Super, we have a quorum. We'll move to item 3 of our agenda. It's our first public comment section. I don't see anybody in the room. I do see a person or two, it looks like, on the hybrid, on the Zoom. Is there anybody who would like to speak for public comment? Please just use your little raise your hand icon. Anybody here in the room? No? Okay, then there's a public comment section at the end of the meeting that if anybody changes their mind, they can speak then. Let's move on to item 4, the approval and the adoption of the agenda. Does anyone have any proposed changes?
I don't.
Commissioner Roeder, none from you? Commissioner Alpert?
Can we move IA2, the IA2 eligibility list for a special ed?
Which way? 7A?
7C?
Yes, I believe
I'm sorry, okay.
Oh, did you want the SPED or the?
so. Special ed instructional assistant, yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so
7C.
you want to pull 7C? Okay.
I've never pulled one before.
Okay. I'd like to pull actually also A, the administrative assistant too, and E, the interpreter for the DAP for comment. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. All right, good. So we'll pull A, C, and E. Okay. Let's move on to reports. I don't see anybody from the union in the room.
Oh, we need to move to approve the agenda. I just heard a whisper.
Oh, I just asked. Everybody was, oh, I'm sorry, hang on. Right, no, thank you. Item 5. Thank you.
I'm nearly closer to our staff.
Okay,
so I can
no,
go.
that's all right. Okay, right, we do have minutes to approve. These are the minutes from the February 26th regular meeting. Does anybody have any emendations?
I have a slight revision, I think this is correct, to 9A, just on the heading. It says request for reclassification. I think it was a request for an advanced step increase.
Good catch. Other items?
No.
No? Commissioner Albert?
No,
Nothing?
none for me.
I do sort of have a question. For element 4, where we talked about rearranging the calendar, I think we said it would be what turned out to be items 9 and 10 ahead of 7. And then later in the meeting, we also decided to put item 8 ahead of 7. And I just wonder if we can reword that a little bit to make that clearer. Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody have any other?
Okay, move approval of the minutes, subject to the changes suggested.
Second.
Thank you very much. I agree. All right, now we can move on to reports. So I don't see anybody from the union in our meeting room, in the boardroom. Is there anybody who is on the Zoom who is here to speak for the union? Okay, doesn't look like it. All right, so we'll see if the union makes an appearance. We'll just move them later in the list. Similarly for the district, I don't see anybody here in the boardroom. Is there anyone who's on the Zoom here to speak for the district? Okay, don't see anybody. We'll do the same if someone makes an appearance timely. Let's go to commissioner reports. Commissioners have reports?
I don't have anything to report.
Commissioner Albert?
Do you want to talk about the conference or?
Well, you can talk some of that.
Just Commissioner Goldstein and I, as well as our director, Aaron, and some of our colleagues from BCCE. I believe 3 of our colleagues from BCCE all attended the annual gathering of the California School District Personnel Commissioners Association.
Nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Good.
There was a pause there while I recalled it, which was very educational. We learned, I mean, I certainly as a new commissioner learned a lot about the basics, but also I think in a session I didn't attend, but some of our colleagues did, from Chico, was it? Do you remember which district, was it Chico? Yeah, there was a presentation at the commission, or at the conference from the president of Chico's Classified Staff Union, as well as the director of Chico's Personnel Commission, talking about strategies for mutual cooperation and good working relations between the union and the district, and particularly the Personnel Commission, and our union colleagues who were there were really impressed. And I think, were you there as well? Yeah, and our staff was there, we're also impressed. And so there was some discussion about having a field trip down to Chico for some or all of us to see what they do and learn more about their systems and processes. And I mentioned this also to the school board during their meeting. There was shared interest as well. So we may all take a big bus down there together or something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll just add, in addition to your report on the CSPCA conference, the notices of possible layoff went out in mid-March. My understanding is it's been a pretty active couple weeks since the notices went out. There is a FAQ that folks can look at to help answer questions. Our executive director is available for meetings for folks who have questions, but I would emphasize that, right now, this is more a notice that is compliance with state law than it is actually what the district plans to do. That will become a lot clearer after the May revise is issued in early May. So, it's clear there's a lot of turmoil, because of the unknown, but it really is still very unknown. So there is just a limited amount that we can explain about the process once we know if there will be layoffs. And that is really something that we'll know in May. The other thing I'll say is I have office hours on Thursday, April 10th, 7:30 a.m. at Highwire Coffee down on San Pablo. Please go ahead.
And just to follow up on your remark, the facts are on our website for folks. The fact page about the March 15 notice is on our website.
Is it?
Yes.
Aaron is nodding, okay.
Or I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
if folks go to just the front page of the Personnel Commission, it's March 15th notifications is just under the intro blue.
Super, okay, good, thank you. And now I'll turn it over to our executive director for her report.
Thank you. I'm going to start off with the personnel activity report for February. It was a short month due to the 2 holidays. There were only 18 workdays. And during this period, the PC administered an average of 10.5 exams a day. And we also welcomed 6 new hires and successfully generated 7 eligibility lists. March was an eventful and challenging month for us because it marked the issuance of the potential layoff notices that Heidi, Chairperson Goldstein, mentioned for both classified and certificated staff. By March 15th, 188 notices were sent to classified staff whose positions were either included in the board resolution for elimination or who could potentially be impacted by bumping. Those notices included forms for employees to indicate their decision to either accept a layoff or exercise their bumpy rights, as well as a form to request a hearing with the Office of Administrative Hearings. During this process, we also identified some discrepancies in the seniority dates for employees who had undergone reclassifications, and we carefully reviewed our merit rules, the Ed Code, CBA language, and we sought a legal opinion and updated the seniority list accordingly. I also sent supplemental notices to affected employees to address any potential questions, and offered to schedule meetings, which will be scheduled throughout April to provide further clarification. We anticipate receiving more information about the district's budget in the coming weeks, which will allow us to rescind some of the layoff notices. We actually received positive news today that just a short while ago, all potential layoff notices were being rescinded for all school campus aid staff. So that's about 45 notices that were going out. We also ensured that all up-to-date information is available, like Sally mentioned, in our HR and our PC web pages. You can find those FAQs. Yeah, and then moving on to our library media specialist reclassification, still finalizing details related to the reclassification of the library media specialists. I've notified incumbents, HR, and the union that a revised list of job duties, because of the significant changes to the class description, will be presented to the board for approval at the April 9th meeting. And then once approved, we will bring the updated duties and class description to the PC meeting for final approval. I will also be meeting with Ms. Yolanda Gibson to commence her desk audit, and I'll provide an update to the PC at our next meeting. Regarding our merit rules revision project, Chairperson Goldstein and I are continuing to review our merit rules and our draft revisions that were prepared by Commissioner Roeder. We plan to present these draft rules soon, one of our upcoming meetings. And last but not least, the CSPCA annual conference, which took place March 16th to the 18th. It was great to have Sally there for the first time, and then also to see strong union representation. Mildred Scher was present, Steve Teisel, and then Stephanie Linner attended, and they all had really positive feedback regarding the sessions. Definitely the focus was on layoffs and union relations, and the timing was ideal. It was also really beneficial for us to network with other districts and to gain those valuable insights that Sally mentioned. So I hope to introduce some of these ideas for implementation this summer, and I'll bring that information forward soon. That concludes my update.
Super, thank you, thank you. Let me double back then and just see if there is anybody from the union here who is meant to give a report. I see Denise has her hands up. Denise, are you here to give the union report? Sarah, do we have audio for her? Okay. Denise, you're unmuted. You should be able to speak.
Hello? Can you hear me?
All right, hand down. Okay, all right. Okay, let's call for anyone from the union here to give a report. Okay, I see Assistant Superintendent Tobias Espinoza is here, possibly to give the district's report.
I will give a district report. I just want to let you guys all know that the union got held up. They're in SBAC still, and so they're voting on things. So they should be joining you soon.
Yeah, we don't hear you. But
Oh,
we think we've unmuted you.
how weird. Can you hear me?
So the union is currently in the SBAC meeting and they're
Yeah.
being held up. Do you hear me?
What do you see, Sarah? Anything?
I don't think they can hear us.
Oh, wait, there we go. Can you
Can you
speak?
hear us?
Yay, now we hear you. Okay.
Okay. So I wanted to let you know I will give a report about the district, but I also wanted to let you know that the union is held up. They're in SBAC and they're in the process of voting on things. And so then they will be joining us over here in this meeting. The SBAC was moved earlier to accommodate them being able to attend your meeting. So we apologize for the fact that it's running over. For the district, I wanted to share that we were able to actually issue or start to issue today some rescinding of some of the layoff notices, specifically to the 45 school campus aides. And so that's the first position that we are rescinding, because we feel like we can continue to keep those positions. So we wanted to give the Personnel Commission that awareness. I've also been meeting with both Local 21 and with BCCE in regards to the class and comp, and we'll be continuing to meet with them to work through the job descriptions, um, and making the changes that were recommended, and then bringing them both to the board and to the Personnel Commission when they are ready. And we are, even though it just feels like last week when we finished up contract negotiations, we are going to be going back to the negotiations table with both BCCE and Local 21 and BFT for the 25-26 school year. And we'll be sunshining the items hopefully at the April 9th board meeting.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And glad to hear we are able to rescind some layoff notices. That's always good news. All right, I'll sort of suggest that maybe when the union comes during the end of our meeting, at the public comment period, we just use that for time for the union to give their reports.
I think that's fine. My only suggestion might be, because we're going to have a closed session, if they're here prior to our closed session, that might be an opportune time, so they don't have to wait around.
All right, fair enough. I guess we'll see when they
If
get
they're
there.
here.
Yeah, okay. Okay with you? Okay, great. All right then, I think that concludes the reports part. Let's move on to item 7, which are the consent items. And I'm going to suggest that maybe we vote, let's discuss, how about we discuss the 3 we agreed to pull and then vote on everything else. So Commissioner Alpert, you wanted item C. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, I know that this is one of our hard-to-fill positions, and so, glad to see we had a list at all, but, 6 is pretty good from what I've heard based on how difficult it's been to fill. Is there anything you can talk about? I mean, I know that there was a little bit of discussion we had at the conference about plans for kind of boosting recruitment in this area. Do you think, I'm not going to ask you for a plan because it's very early, but when do you think that we can get a synthesis of what we learned about plans, basically?
I think I can definitely bring something forward by next month.
Cool.
More kind of a recruitment plan for, especially in particular for the IA SPED positions, something we've already discussed and have in mind. So, yeah, definitely by next month, I can bring a report and include it in my report or.
Right. Well, deferring also to our chair who's crafting our agenda, but that would be great. And yeah, I know that was one of the particular positions that we talked about at the conference, and I talked to some other folks about, and I know Erin had some conversations about. So yeah, great to see that we have, I mean, it's a rank of, well, it's 6 ranks, but it's 8 people on the list, which is great. So hopefully we can hire all of them as soon as possible.
Something to mention about this list is that, the list has been fully exhausted as far as like everybody has been contacted and interviewed. Several of these candidates are being, the references are being checked as we speak and being recommended to be hired. There are 4 on this list that are contractors and are not available until the summer, but we're definitely keeping them in mind. And I think we might discuss this a bit further later in one of our discussion items, but we're definitely holding on to these names so that we can ideally make job offers at the end of this year in the summer so that they can potentially begin in the fall.
And I know it's complicated, but in discussing with one of the members of the union at a previous time, he mentioned that there's a lot of the contractors have non-compete clauses.
That's right.
But a lot of those non-compete clauses are either illegal or unenforceable. And so I don't know if it's really our place, but if we can provide education to them, like, hey, here's a resource to learn about non-complete causes and what, what that really means for you as a contractor.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that we've thought about in order to, I appreciate that we have to use contractors, but I am not above poaching. I think
right.
it's, anyway, something to think about. That was all I had.
Okay.
I had a comment on this list too.
Please.
And I think that Aaron, maybe completely answered what my question was going to be. So I compared this list of 6 ranks with our previous list that had more, maybe 12 or so ranks, not ranks, 8 ranks, but individuals. And I could see, and I just want to confirm, these lists are sort of cumulative, for want of a better term, lists in the sense that they include people who were on the previous list. And that's great, that's good. So, and as I say, I think you, Aaron, answered my question already. And we are going to have a discussion item 9 that I asked to be put on the agenda to go into this a little bit more. But so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 carryover names that were on the previous list and are now on this new list. And so question number 1 is, can you confirm, Aaron, that each of those 7 individuals has been contacted? And I think you said 3 or 4 of them actually are having their references checked?
That's correct. Yeah, we actually vetted this list several times in the last couple of weeks, and we've been checking in with the program supervisors in special ed, and so we can definitely say that all of them have been contacted.
Okay, that's great. That's very good, because that goes to Commissioner Alpert's comment of not using contractors and staffing agencies whenever possible. As I say, we're going to talk about this a little tiny bit more later on. Okay, then I'm satisfied with this list. I don't have any other questions about it, other than sort of the general topic.
Okay, good, thank you. Maybe we'll go to my items that I pulled. So item A, which is the administrative assistant 2, I notice now that we are marking exams administered, the number of exams for both written and I think oral. On this one, this particular list, there are 2 written examinations. And I think what I remember is because there were so many folks, these really are both written examinations, right? Okay. And I like that you're including the counts, so thank you for that.
Sure.
The other item that I wanted to just ask about, actually, one small correction that I thought I'd talk about when we just talked generally. For the instructional technician before and after school, I just have a question about markings, because we've got 3 sets of stars, right? Eligibility expiring in December, September, and August. And the August and the September expirations in the notes both look like they're 2 stars.
That's right.
And I'm guessing one of them would be 3 stars?
Yeah, we're gonna have
So
to-
who is what in
Yeah,
that?
it's likely that the very bottom is the 3 stars, but we will have to double check and we'll make the revision.
Right, because I see one person in the list who has 3 stars.
Yeah,
Next to them, okay, all right, so we'll go back and just get that correctly
Yes.
marked, and, okay. My other item had to do with the interpreter for the deaf. Let's see if I can find that, which is notoriously always hard to recruit for, and probably it's a miracle we were able to find one person. Is this because the position is vacant?
It's vacant now, yes,
All right, so we're recruiting to fill.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And as a matter of fact, the hiring manager is contacting this candidate today for an interview.
Super. Okay, great. All right, I appreciate that. Does anybody have any other comments on the ones that we pulled? No? Okay. Are we ready for a vote on the full set of consent items? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve consent items A through G.
Second.
Great, thank you. And I agree. So we'll go ahead with that. And then I see that both, I thought I saw Frank, I see Mildred has joined us. Mildred, do you have a union report? Oh, I do see Frank, okay, he moved positions there. Do one of you have a union report that you'd like to give before we move on with our agenda?
I don't. Mildred?
Actually, there is a union report that I wanted to give. Thank you.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, hold on. I have to get it together. I was trying, I was literally just getting in my car, getting ready to try to speed up there because I thought no one can see me.
No, we see you, and you could deliver your union report if you want. Are you headed here to the meeting room?
Yes, ma'am. I just got in my car to try to rush there because I thought no one can see me, so I had jumped in the car.
All right, why don't, if you want to do it now, that's great. Otherwise, we can go over items 8 and 9, and hopefully you'll get here before we go into closed session, and you could deliver it then.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank
right.
you. I'm leaving adult school right now. Here I come.
Okay, all right, let's move on then, and when Mildred gets here, we'll revisit. Let's go to conference item. We're on item 8 now, and this is an advanced step request for Mr. Kumar. Secretary, would you kindly talk to us about this one?
Sure. I'm actually recommending an advanced step placement for Mr. Albert Kumar, who began his new position as maintenance engineer on October 7th. He brings 14 years of general construction experience. He's worked for BUSD for 15 years as custodian 2, and then later as a maintenance technician. This was a targeted recruitment for carpentry and painting. And so those were essential trades for this particular position. And so he had expertise in both. Also, it was, I considered a hard to fill position because of the shift. It was a 2 to 10 p.m. shift. And so given all of his qualifications and the difficulty in the recruitment, I'm recommending a step 5. And as noted in my flyer, Mr. Kumar was already placed automatically at a step 3 to give him at least a 5% increase from his last position. So this would just be bringing him 2 steps forward.
Thank you. I see a couple of tiles in the Zoom. I don't know if Mr. Kumar is here and would like to speak. And if you are, please just use your hand raise, and we'd be glad to let you speak before we discuss.
I also believe that Frank was going to comment on this item.
Okay, all right. All right, so I guess Mr. Kumar is not here. What I'm inclined to do is ask the commissioners first if they have questions, and then we can go back to everyone else and see if they have comments as well. All right, Commissioner Rowe.
It's more of a comment than it is a question. I know that a step advance isn't for the purpose of rewarding loyalty or anything like that. However, with that said, I think we should, I certainly acknowledge Mr. Kumar's tremendous loyalty to the district and his sort of promotional experience that he had. It's just an example of why we have these different classifications and moving through the classifications and allowing him to really excel at his career. So I congratulate Mr. Kumar.
Second.
Commissioner Alpert, do you have any?
Just, yes, agree with Commissioner Ritter. Appreciate a long service and what sounds like exemplary service as well.
I have a couple questions, I think, actually for our executive director, which is, I hope are pretty easily answered. One is, given the shift that he works, it made me wonder if BUSD has a shift differential that we apply, and is that in place here?
Yeah, there is a shift differential, which is, I believe it's 5%. After a certain hour, but I don't know exactly when that starts, but after a certain hour, then a 5% shift differential kicks in.
Oh, so this is interesting. So, okay, so just so I understand, right now, the base pay is at step 3.
Yes,
And for any hours that fall in the shift differential category, they're paid at 5% premium? Is that?
5% for each hour that they work over
Or
that.
5% over
Yeah.
what the base would
Yes.
be? Okay, okay. And then the other thing I want to try to understand is, was there a break in service here or no? When he promoted, I'm just kind of curious about the step 3 placement and, the fact that it should be at least 5% increase from prior salary. Was this prior salary somewhere else, or this was BUSD's salary?
Yeah, it was his maintenance tech position with BUSD.
So that's interesting. So the maintenance tech position is the same schedule, right? Schedule 52, but what range?
I have to look that up. I don't have it on me.
Is that something, I mean, I'm just curious about that, because that means we've got a break in the continuity of the salary schedule, I think,
How so?
right? I mean, he would have been, if he were step 3 in the maintenance tech, and then he moved, to a different range, there should be that 5%.
He was probably like a step 5 in his maintenance tech position.
Or is that when something like that would happen?
Yeah, I mean, because he's promoting, but he was at step 5, so then HR will calculate and ensure that he makes at least 5% more.
I see. Okay, so
when-
that's what resulted in the
Yeah,
placement.
him
Okay,
going into
all
step
right.
3.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'll go back just now to everyone who's on Zoom. Is there anybody who wants to speak on this advanced step placement request? Please just use your hand icon.
My hand is raised. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, no, I guess I don't. Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Frank.
Denise was raised prior, though. I don't know if she wants to speak on this or something else.
All right. Oh, all right. Hello. I'm getting rid of something that's on my screen. Denise, if you want to go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna be in place for a little while. Couple of things, just because in the beginning, what Samantha mentioned, I was trying to come into the meeting to let you know that Mildred would be late because of the budget committee meeting, but also because I'm not understanding, and I understand a lot of the staff, the USD staff, there's no page numbers on the minutes, on the agenda, on the minutes. And it's kind of hard. I'm kind of used to it. I've been doing it for a while, but it's hard to keep up with what you guys are doing if you're not, if on the agenda it refers to a page number, but on the actual minutes, there are no pages. And so I just want to remind staff again to please include those because it helps people, especially those new to the PC, follow.
You know, I'll apologize. Some of this has come through garbled. Did someone else hear this clearly enough to help me with this?
Yeah, I think Ms. Diggs mentioned not being able to see page numbers on the minutes, or maybe even the agenda packet.
I see. All right. That's something we can take care of, yes? Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, normally we try to put them in, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. I'm looking at our packet now, just to sort of see where page numbers appeared or where they didn't. I always look at it online and. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it
Okay,
seems like
all
they
right.
got skipped.
so maybe just, this is a note to self, little QA for page numbers. All right, thank you. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Okay. Frank, did you still want to speak?
Yes. Just want to comment on a couple things. So this is a 5%. I'm sorry, they get for working the extra hours, and it's 3 hours a night from it starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 7 a.m. So you get 5% extra. I just want to say that's I've never worked in a place where 5% was adequate. It's always been around 20%, and it's usually for the whole shift. And the reason I'm saying that is because this is a hard to fill position. I don't know if it's the night shift or people just don't like working with me, but Albert is a coworker of mine. He really he deserves this step 5. He's a hard worker, very knowledgeable in his trades, has many skills beyond the 2 that he applied for. He does everything really, and he really deserves this step 5. And again, I'll go back to, this is a very hard to fill position because of the nighttime. People come and they just don't want to do it and they leave. Even the ones that do stay, sign up, they usually are out pretty quick. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Did we, I'm just sort of curious, when we did the class and comp, I guess there are not too many positions that have a shift or differential applied at all.
Well, several of the custodian positions do.
Right, other than custodian and maintenance, I guess.
Custodian, maintenance, yeah, facilities positions for the most part.
So I don't really remember anything in the report that spoke one way or the other to shift differential pay in section 4 when they did that
No,
analysis.
no, it wasn't.
Boy, that's interesting. Because I am mindful in terms of what Frank has described, that often, the shift is the shift. So, all right, Frank, I appreciate your pointing that out, and maybe we'll chart that for something a little later to talk in more depth, just to find out competitive-wise. I mean, obviously, it's for the district to decide. I know money is tight. I just wonder, as a matter of, competitive, with other school districts, how they do it.
Right.
So I think that's something we need to probably look into. All right, so we'll work on that separately. Is there anybody else who has anything they want to say on this request?
I had one additional thing, and this is sort of a matter of process, but, if you look at our rules, and they're quoted here, 70.100.1, initial placement, it talks in reference to new employees. And generally speaking, that is who we're dealing with for advanced step placements, is newly hired employees. However, the commission, prior to Commissioner Alpert's being on the commission has made the determination that an employee who gets promoted and is new to the position in which he or she was promoted will also be considered a new employee and subject to the same rule. I wanted to point that out because it's not really apparent from the words of the rule.
Thank you for clarifying, right? It's good common sense, and appreciate the clarification. Anyone else? All right, I see Frank has his hand up again. Frank, go ahead, please. Or is that an old hand?
No, that's actually, I want to comment on what Roder just said. So I recently saw this. I'm not sure where it's at in the personnel rules, but I did see it there. What you just said, it actually says the opposite. It says step placement is for promotional only. And that might be in the BCCE contract. I'm not sure. I recently saw this is for promotional only, and that kind of blew me away because I've never seen it before. But I believe I take it back. I'm almost sure it's in the contract. And if I look it up, I'll email it to you guys so you guys could see it.
Yeah, if you would, Frank, I
Yeah.
would appreciate it because, that's, I'm just reading from, it says, all new employees shall be appointed at the hiring rate for the class as approved by the commission. The hiring rate shall be the first step of the schedule, and then it's got the exception. So, just reading it, it makes it appear that it's newly hired, brand new employees, but we've expanded it to include promotions. If it's in the BCCE contract, well, that's good. Then that's another reason for expanding it in that way.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I never saw it before until this week, and I was like, "Whoa, this is new."
Okay.
So when I find it, I'll send it to everyone.
This is timely because in our pretty much weekly meetings where we're going over the final edits to the rules, before we bring them back to the public, we're about to close up on Chapter 6 and start on Chapter 7. So, we'll make a mental note to ourselves to look for those things.
Great.
All right, last call. Anybody else have any comments on this particular item, the request for advanced step replacement to step 5? Step placement, not replacement.
Then I'll move that Mr. Kumar be placed at step 5 of the salary schedule for advanced step placement.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and I agree. Congratulations. Although I don't think he's here, but sounds well-deserved, so. All right, and I see Mildred is here and maybe has calmed down from her sprint. So would you like to deliver the union report?
This district has stolen the podium.
Yeah,
Oh, they did? They stole it?
yeah,
Well, it's theirs to take, so.
right.
I didn't think you guys could see me. I appreciate it. Sorry, I was making notes while I was in SBAC. We had SBAC today, so we had to vote. And it was truly important that voting members were able to put our voting in. So again, I appreciate that you guys allowed me to be here in person, because there's some important things that I do want to say, and I want you guys to hear it from me. So first, I like to provide a quick report on the SPCA conference that myself and the communication chair and the secretary was able to attend. And I want to really appreciate Aaron for making sure that we did attend that conference. It was very informative. It was educational. We had an opportunity to engage with experts, ask many questions, and gain valuable insights, of course, regarding the layoffs, especially what we're going through now. Ask questions about testing and things like that. And there were some things that I heard today that we actually received some information on, but I will save that for the next meeting because it's too late to do that today. One of the most important things that I wanted to make sure that I was able to report to you all today, and I'm glad that I'm able to do it in person because I want to look you all in your face. And I want you to hear it directly from me because there are things with this budget cuts that is happening. And I want you to hear it from me first. If you haven't already, this is a district, so, people say things, and you may have already heard it, but I want you to hear it from me. So I'm going to shift the focus of my report, but I just wanted to give you the positive first, which was the great opportunity we had. Never had attended that conference before, so that was the first time we ever attended a conference that was dealing directly with the merit system. So it was awesome. Probably one of the best conferences I've ever attended. So now, to my focus is, with the district facing budget cuts and classified staff experiencing drastic layoffs, I want you all to know that I have strongly recommend that the Personnel Commission eliminate the current vacant supervisor position. Doing so would help preserve classified jobs. We have 164 classified positions possibly being eliminated. I want to be clear that this recommendation is not meant to offend anyone. However, given our current situation, it just simply makes sense. In my decades of service to this district, I have not seen a justifiable need for an executive director, a supervisor, and a 1.5 or 2.0 FTE support staff, depending in this department. At a time when frontline classified employees who provide essential services to students are facing layoffs, eliminating an vacant administrative position is a responsible and logical step. So furthermore, I believe that we, as the Personnel Commission, should do our part and contribute to the budget cuts before the district asks if they haven't already. It is only fair that we lead by example and ensure that reductions start where they make the most sense rather than disproportionately impacting classified employees. So I wanted you to hear it directly from me that I have made this recommendation because I believe it is in the best interest of the classified staff and the students we serve. So I urge the commission to take this into serious consideration. And the reason why I'm saying that is because it is vacant, so it's not as if it's impacting a person, but we're talking about position. And I would like the commission, and I did mention this to Executive Director Aronez, I did mention it to her, but I just wanted you all to hear it from me, and I wanted you to hear the rationale behind it. And I didn't want you to hear it from the district first, but I just wanted you to understand why I recommended it and just to take it into consideration. And that's my report for today. And thank you for waiting for me and taking the time.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to our next item, which is discussion item number 9, the hiring process for the instructional assistant in SPED. Secretary, do you want to start us on this?
I actually will defer to Commissioner Roeder, who wanted to bring this item forward, who requested we.
Yeah, thank you. I asked that this item be put on the agenda. And just the smallest amount of, and I won't belabor it at this point, but the smallest amount of background on it. So as all of you are aware, I also serve on the audit committee of the district and have for the last 20 years. At our last audit committee meeting, we analyzed, because we were looking at the second interim, we analyzed the special education budget, which is huge for the district, and every single year goes up, and in recent years has gone up by the tune of about $2 million a year. I mean, it's absolutely staggering. Plus, our special education budget far exceeds the average budget of other similar school districts in the area. School board member Shinosky also sits on the audit committee, and we both requested that fiscal services provide us with a comparison, because we've talked about this here, and BCCE has very eloquently expressed the fact, and so recently has Commissioner Alpert, that we should do everything in our power to not be hiring from agencies, which of course is the right thing to do no matter what the cost is, because we should be hiring off of our eligibility list, not staffing agencies. But we wanted to have this comparison done. So I don't know, you may have seen it. It appears actually on the SBAC page as well, but it was provided to me by Jennifer Sonosky. Put on my correct glasses so I can see. So on average, now this is average contractor IA sped cost per year, based on 199 days, is $70,690 per year. The average BUSD employee who is at step 3, so we're not talking about steps 1 and 2, we're talking right in the middle of the range, step 3, per year, including benefits, so this is all in, is $43,742. That's a differential of basically $27,000 a year for each and every employee from a staffing agency that we receive. Now, it's an average. All the positions aren't identical. One might need to fine tune this to get the exact dollars and cents, but this is the ballpark that we're talking about.
Can I ask you to repeat? You said the average, the average total cost, including benefits, of a step 3 was what?
$43,742 for
That
199 hours.
shocks me.
Yeah, well,
That's low.
it's low. It's not, full.
Well, it's not full-time.
It's not. Yeah.
That's why.
That makes sense.
Okay, so, the real question is, what was the average FTE that matched to that number to compare, or was the contractor amount also normalized for that
Right,
FTE?
and those are all excellent questions, which, and this is just by way of preface, even if the dollars were identical, we still need to hire this way. So that's why I asked that this be put on the agenda of this meeting. Unfortunately, we don't have the director, the SPED director here. I've spoken to our executive director about this, and Aaron has told me that in all likelihood, he will be able to be with us at our next meeting, or whenever this is scheduled again, because from my standpoint, I think we need to know a number of things. One is absolutely as you called it, normalizing of these, so we're comparing apples to apples, number one. Number two, what is our hiring process? I mean, it's conceivable that it's been tightened up lately, because I was very happy to hear from Aaron that the individuals on the list had all been contacted. I'm not sure that was the case in the past. Who does the hiring? Is it a centralized procedure? I know at one time HR did the hiring. Now it's back to special education doing the hiring. Is it the director that does it? Is it the supervisors? I think we need to know what the actual process and procedure is. Are there barriers that they have come across which perhaps we can alleviate conceivably in the hiring? And then the thing that we talked about last time, and that Director Alpert also mentioned, is the contracts that we have with the agencies, and whether they provide for a fee. We were told at the last meeting that individuals who work for the agencies are basically free agents in the summer. And I agree with Commissioner Alpert. I'm not above poaching them. And then lastly, and I think it was Commissioner Alpert who asked our executive director, could we have at one of our meetings a report and a discussion about recruiting? My own thought on that, which I shared with Aaron, is could we perhaps, at least for starters, send out a questionnaire, a survey to all of our SPED IAs, and Aaron suggested maybe our teachers, SPED teachers too, about their ideas for recruitment and what are the best areas that we could recruit from. So it's a larger discussion. We don't have the people here who can answer any of these questions. So I would ask Madam Chairperson that if we could keep this on the agenda next meeting or some other meeting, because I think it's important, and it's only one of, it's probably the most difficult to recruit for, but I'd be interested in the other staffing agencies that we use, and maybe have this be sort of a model of how we can go forward and just try to create our own pool of employees rather than relying on staffing agencies. That's all I have.
Thank you for the summary. I appreciate that. I see some hands are up, and I'll hold my comments until after the others have spoken. And it looks like, okay, Commissioner Albert, you feel the same. Okay. So at least on my screen, I think I saw Samantha's hand up first. So would you like to go ahead and speak?
Thank you. So I want to say that the district is in agreement with trying to not go with contractors completely. The difficulty that we're stuck between is that we, especially in this case of special education assistants, if we were to cut the contracts completely, we do not have the at least 25 people that we would need to hire and start in our current vacancies, let alone the actual number of contractors we have. We don't have the people to replace them. And we would be signing ourselves up basically for lawsuits and comp time claims by parents for every one of those people who is missing from that list. So we have to do a process to step back from the contractors. And I agree that it is outrageous the amount of contractors we have. We agree that the contract, how much we pay the contractors, which actually doesn't go to the actual contractors, it goes to the company. The majority of it is ridiculous. But I also, I'm questioning what document you're looking at, because I'm looking at the pay scale, and I'm also like aware of the budgeting and all of that kind of stuff and the number of days people work. And I'm sort of questioning some of the data that you have there. So I'd be interested in what that chart actually looks like. So that would be helpful for me. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be there in person today. But I would be very interested in, for our next meeting, having more of a study session where we could share data and information, if that is at all possible. And I was not aware that the hiring had shifted back to special ed doing the hiring until very recently. I believed that HR was still doing it centralized, and I have actually requested that we move it back to HR doing it centralized. So that is the plan, as well as I heard earlier, was mentioned by Commissioner Albert, that the ideas that we have in terms of recruitment, and trying to do things differently, I agree completely. Am on board to be a partner in all of that. And so I agree with all of that, as well as, in terms of contractors, the other major amount of contractors that we have that are aligned with our classified staff are the positions we have through Elevo, which are the people who support our after-school program, where we are also facing a similar issue, where if we were to release all of those contractors, we would not be able to serve the kids that we have currently legally. And so we need to, we've been working on hiring, and it has been a slow process, but a steady process at hiring people off of the eligibility list as they come. I also want to appreciate the fact that since I've been with the district, I have seen a major difference in the frequency and the thoroughness of the lists that we've gotten, the eligibility lists for both the special ed assistants and the instructional technicians, and how the Personnel Commission has worked to improve that process and really has made leaps and bounds in terms of making changes to what the process was when I first came on board. And so I want to express that appreciation.
Thank you so much.
Can I make one comment
Sure.
about what, Samantha, just to draw your attention to and I can email the data that I received to you, but it also appears on not today's slides from SBAC, but the prior meetings slides from SBAC have the exact same chart that contains, the dollars. And I think that that chart was created, this I'm not 100% sure of, was created by Fiscal Services Department. So that's where the data comes from and can be found.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that data you will share with our executive director, who can also share it with the other commissioners? Yes?
Yeah, I saw it already, and I can forward you the link to the
Okay, great.
presentation.
Thank you. And I see Frank has his hand up. Frank, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I just want to pitch something. I brought this to many people recently. I brought it to superintendent. I'm not sure if I brought it to Samantha or Aaron. I probably have. Brought it to some board members. I believe we need to figure out what's going on with the process. And what I mean by that is, like, we need to go through each step, and I mean every little step, and figure out where it's being broken down. And it maybe not a complete breakdown, but everyone talks about, well, I'm not going to hire through the district when I could just grab a contractor and it'll be here tomorrow. So it seems like the problem is the process is taking way too long. And that's what we hear over and over and over again, especially for the SPED department and the after school program. I'm suggesting that we actually get a committee. I would love to be on the committee. And Samantha says she would love to be involved in something too. Get people who are really want to be involved in fixing the problem and figure out step by step how we can improve from one step to the next step to the next step, where, identify the problems where they lie. And it could just be communication, which I believe most of them are, and just see if we could make it better, make it faster. Can we improve it here? Can we improve it there? How do we get this information to flow, all the way through? And I think that if we could figure this out, I think that would be half the battle, because you're not reaching out to somebody 3 months later. Maybe you could knock it down 50%. I don't know. Maybe knock it down in a couple of weeks. I just think we need to get a group to look at the process, focus on how we can make it better. And the other part of that is there's no agency. There is not one person in this district who is overseeing the process. Not one person. So that's part of the breakdown. There's not one person who says, hey, we need to hire 2 people at this location by a certain date. We got to make this happen. No, the PC is one part of it. Then you got the department's another part of it. You got HR is another part of it. The board is another part. The union is another part. We're all separated. One person, and I mean one person, needs to have ownership, have agency over the whole process and make sure it happens. That's what they do for a living. They make sure this happens. And then I have one question. It was Aaron brought up about the contractors and how we have a list, but there's like 5 of them who can't take the position till maybe next year because of the fees that would have to be paid. My question is, who would pay the fees? Are we talking BUSD, or are we talking the actual agency people who would be doing the work? I'm not clear on who would be paying the fees, and I would love to see that in writing. And is that even a deterrent from hiring them right now? I mean, we're a merit rules, we're a merit system. Why are we have to adhere to a contractor on outside? I understand they have a contract with BUSD, but they don't have it with the merit rules or the merit or the PC. So I'm a little confused on why we're even entertaining that we can't hire them. And I would just love to know what the fee is and who has to pay it. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I don't know, and I'm not sure if Samantha's still here. It looks like she is. Do you have visibility to the contracts, Samantha, such that you can actually clarify that last question? I understand generally how those kinds of contracts work, but I don't know specifically what BUSD has.
I don't currently have access to them, but I can get access to them. I believe I may have access to one of them right now. But it would, I'd have to pull that language out, but I don't mind doing that, and being able to share it, with the Personnel Commission. Just to answer one of Frank's questions, who would pay it? It would be the district who would need to pay it. And it would come from unrestricted general fund because that's the only way we could. Um, so that is the piece. I can put that in writing if you want me to. But I can also get the actual contracts and the language from the contract in terms of how much the fees are. I don't know it off the top of my head. But yeah, because the contract is with BUSD, BUSD is held to that contract.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else who, Frank, I see your hand is still up. Do you have more to say, or is that an old one?
Yeah, no, I got a little something, not much. Thanks, Samantha, for saying who would pay. My question here would be, then how can we say we can't hire them if the district has to pay? And we don't know how much that costs, how much it would cost. So if it's $30,000, I get it, right? But what if it's 5,000 or even 2,000? How does that deter from someone who's trying to apply through the merit system and says, hey, I'm trying to get a job permanent here. And you're saying, well, no, you can't because your contract says, well, that's something, in my opinion, that's something separate. That's totally different. If the agency person if they had to pay for it, that would be on them. We're not poaching them. BUSD is not poaching them. They're coming here, signing up saying, hey, I want a job. So I don't know what the contract says, but that might be a little different than us going out there and trying to hire people and say, hey, come here and we'll pay you $5,000. If you sign this, we'll give you a bonus. If they're just coming here on their own, I don't know if that would be poaching, but I'm not a lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the Zoom who wants to speak to this? Unique, I see you.
Hi, thank you. I just kind of wanted to add my 2 cents and let it be known that I have someone who's been on the IT eligibility list for almost a year now. I believe that list is set to expire next month. She's definitely already in, working with me now, but if she wasn't working with me, she probably would have got another job. So it's been 11 months since she's been on the eligibility list. And that is, a huge problem in why we can't get any staff to work for after school. So I just want to bring that to your attention. I was actually going to follow up with the email about her specifically, but I'm sure there are other people that have been on the list for a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the Zoom who wants to speak to this? And maybe then I'll take a moment just to add my comments. And Commissioner Roeder, you may know this. I used to watch BUSD's budget a little more closely than I have right now. When I stopped watching it a few years ago, the special ed budget was 23% of the overall budget. Is that about what it is right now?
I can't say for sure. The last I saw, I think, and maybe Samantha would know better than I do, we're looking at about $42 million,
Yeah.
I think.
And if you think about that just on a base of, what, a 210 million operating budget
Right.
for next year, 20-ish%.
Yeah, and of
Right.
course, all of that is not due to hiring IA speds from, in fact, probably the savings that would occur from using employees rather than the agency.
It's about $750,000.
It's not going to
right?
solve the sped budget by any means. There's so many other components to it, which are outside the purview of this commission. And I think I've heard that Fiscal Services is trying to put together a task force to really further delve into the SPED budget. And, you know, and somebody, I think Samantha mentioned lawsuits. And of course, the minute you don't provide the services that are required by law, or even the minute a parent perceives that you haven't provided those services, you get sued.
Right. You know, and that's sort of a standing wave, I think, at most school districts. You know,
Yeah.
there is always some number of special ed lawsuits.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is I don't want to minimize this matter, because we really do have an issue with, I think, a disconnect in how our district uses contract labor and who oversees it. And we've talked about two areas. We've talked about special ed. We've talked about after school. There are places in John Calise's organization where people are working on special projects, you know, similar, you know, sort of an issue. The point I'll make about special ed is because the budget has always been such a high percentage of our overall budget, and this has been a discussion for well over a decade, as far as I know. The rough, you know, just do the rough math, $27,000 difference, right, between contractors and employees. And I heard about, you know, 25 employees. So let's say, you know, 25 positions, 30,000 a throw, that's $750,000. It's about $750,000. That's real money. But in terms of the problem we're trying to solve in the special ed budget, you know, that's not the key problem. So, you know, the question that I would have is, I think that a study session for the Personnel Commission apropos to this particular issue, just of how are we doing it, not just for special ed, but, you know, let's look at after school as well, and sort of understand how it is coordinated or handed off or what have you. I don't know if the end of April is enough time to collect everybody, or if we will need to do it as a special meeting, you know, and I get that, we may need to do it as a special meeting, but I think it's a good idea. You know, I just want to make sure that we all leave this discussion understanding the special ed budget sucking sound that happens here at this district. This is as Commissioner Roeder said, a fairly small part. Comment?
Yeah, just I appreciate all the discussion so far, and really appreciate Samantha, your attendance and comments, and from the union as well. And, you know, kind of to Commissioner Roeder's point, moving away from contracting for SPED, for special ed generally, is a win-win-win, right? It's better for the district because we'll save money. It's better for the union because those will be union positions, and it's better for those employees because they'll be paid more, right? I mean, a lot of the employees who are under contract, I think, will be better off as full-time district employees. You know, those contractors as serving as middlemen take a lot of the money out that it doesn't benefit either the employee or us. But also to Samantha's point, you know, we have to do all this while maintaining service, right? We can't pull the plug suddenly and end up in a situation where we don't have the services we need for our special ed program. So I don't have solutions necessarily, but I share everyone's urgency.
And a study session is a place where I think, you know, we could also talk about, you know, certainly there are solutions.
Yes, there are solutions.
Yeah.
I know that there are solutions, I just don't
Right.
have them, so, or any more so than anyone else here. I mean, I have the ideas, but definitely, you know, as I said earlier about non-compete. I mean, the law has changed around non-compete. And so I don't know if it's worthwhile for us to get a legal.
No, I think when we see the contracts, we'll see it. Non-compete typically says after you leave the agency for a period of a year, you
Right.
can't go work for a competing agency. And right, you know, that has basically been disallowed in California. And I don't know if that's our problem, or if the problem is simply, we said we were going to hire you through June, and the contract says, you know, if you want to poach and hire them yourself, that's fine, but you owe us, you know, 15% fee or something like that.
Right.
So can we leave this discussion, Executive Director, that you've got an item to, think about what it takes to put together a study session on this?
Sure.
All right, appreciate it, thank you. All right, let's move on. So now we're at item 10, closed session, and it's 5:45. And I think probably we'll spend about 45 minutes in closed session. After closed session is public comment. I don't see anybody in the room. Would the commissioners be opposed to offering public comment to anybody who's on the Zoom now, rather than making them wait? Is there anyone on the Zoom who would like to make a public comment now, so that you don't have to wait until after we come back from closed? All right, I see Denise. Denise, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I joined the meeting as well, but I'm just wondering if, and knowing Erin, she probably did, but if there's any update on the reclassification study, especially for Yolanda Gibson.
Yeah, I did speak to that, and I'm going to be meeting Yolanda next week to commence the desk audit.
Thanks.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Denise. Is there anyone else who would like to take this opportunity now for public comment in the Zoom? Okay, then let's say that we're going into closed session at 5:46 and probably be about 45 minutes. All right, thank you very much. We are back from closed session at 7:07 p.m. and the report from closed session is that we discussed issues pertaining to the employment of our executive director. No actionable items were determined or taken. I'll move on now to public comment. I know we offered public comment early so that people wouldn't have to wait for us, and obviously my 45-minute estimate was very bad. If there is anyone who is still, there's no one in the room right now, but if there's anybody on the Zoom who would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. All right, I see Denise Diggs-Ray. Denise, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm just curious, and this may have been discussed before, and I apologize, because I know the PC staff is very committed in what they're doing, but I'm just wondering when the technical examination replaced the oral interview for staff. We discussed this last month in February, and I didn't see anything in regards to it, so that's why I'm asking about it again. And this year, I think I just found myself. I think I did mention already in regards to putting the page numbers for the minutes. And I know we're all overworked, and I'm not criticizing the staff, just a friendly reminder. Thank you.
Thank you. Well considered and noted. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to item 13, which is our next meeting, which is Wednesday, April 23rd at 4:30 p.m. People may remember that we established this new date at our February 26th meeting. So this is a reminder that it's on the 23rd, not the 30th, not the last Wednesday. There's a conflict with the room. So Wednesday, the 23rd, 4:30 p.m. And with that, we will adjourn at 7:09 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Very good.